A very good evening to all of you. We are yet back again with another live, and today the topic that I'm going to discuss with you and which will be very relevant in your CUET exam also is direct and indirect speech. So I know that a lot of students have doubt in this particular topic. The voices, the narration and this direct indirect speech, it's often very confusing. So let's try to erase all that confusion and let's try to learn it in a simplified way. So as you all requested when we had the BBKP last time, I know that you all requested that why don't we do a live on this particular topic, indirect and direct speech. Yes, hello Ryu. So we will discuss this topic today. But before starting the topic, let me quickly tell you what does it mean, direct or indirect speech. So if someone has told you something and you tell that same thing in the inverted commas or you quote it as it is to the other person, that is a direct speech. And the indirect speech is you will convert the other person's speech into your speech and then tell it to the other person. So we will see it with some of the examples and it will be even more clarified after that. Let's start with the class. The topic is tenses. So before moving on to this, I believe it's very important that you all know what are the rules and what are the helping verb we use for different tenses. So we will quickly write down all the three tenses and their subtypes. Meanwhile, I want you people to write down the rules on your own also. So we often underestimate these things. We would simply pick up a grammar book and keep on cramming the rules for different direct, indirect. But if you do it this way, it becomes very easy. Hello Shivangi. Hello everyone. Good evening. Right. So first of all, let's write the three tenses, which is present, past, and future. And they have four subtypes. I am simply going to write down the rules for different structures, sentence structures that may come in these sentences. So the subtypes, the first one is simple, or you may even call it indefinite. Simple present tense, simple past tense, simple future tense. Second is your continuous. Third is perfect. And fourth one is perfect continuous. Before looking at the rules, let's quickly understand these. This is the simplest structure you can have in present, past or future. This will give you the rule or the sentence structure for the sentence that is still going on. Either it's going on in the present, or it was going on in the past, or it will be going on in the future. So it will be in process. So one thing is common and continuous. In all the three types, you are going to use verbs ing form. Next one is perfect. Now perfect itself means that the action is completed. So either it's recently completed. If it is completed in the recent time, then it will be a sentence of the present perfect tense. If it was completed in the past, then it is a past perfect tense. If it will be completed in the future, the time I am referring to, by then in the future, the work will be completed. So that will be your perfect tense. So one thing is clear, just as you had your verb ing in this one, continuous one, you will have verbs participle form or the third form in the perfect tense in all the three. Even in the future, you will have verb third form. I hope this much is clear. Last one is perfect continuous, which means that the work started sometime back and is still continuing. Right? So again, the work is continuing. I'll be using verb ing here also. Let's now write down the rules for all of these sentences. So in simple present tense, the rule will be you will start with the subject of a sentence plus no helping verb are needed in this one. Okay, so let me clarify this. There are two types of verb. One is the main verb. Verbs are action words. So these actions are performed by what? They are performed by the subject of the sentence. Basically, a sentence will have three basic grammatical units, three main grammatical units: subject, verb, and the object. So subject performs the action, right? That action will be mentioned in the verb and it will have some effect on the object. So object bears the consequences or the effect of that particular action, that verb. Right? So subject, no helping verb is needed in the simple present tense. Verb's first form, and sometimes you add s or es with the verb when it is a third person singular. He, she, it. When you are using a verb in simple present tense with he, she and it, after the verb you can add s or es. For example, he runs, she swims, she writes a letter. So he, she, it are the only three pronouns with which you will use s or es. And the object, in the simple past tense, the rule will be subject plus verb's second form plus object. He wrote a letter. I did not use written. I did not say write. I said wrote. So this is the only tense where you use verb's second form plus object. In the future it will be subject plus, shall we add some helping verb here? Well, we have to show that it's a future tense. So the two helping verbs are will and shall plus verb's first form plus object. So this is the basic grammatic structure. Now you must be thinking, why is ma'am telling us these rules? Because when you will be changing the direct into indirect, or later on when we will be doing active voice and passive voice, these rules and these helping verb, they are the only things that confuse us, right? So it's important we write them down. In continuous it will be subject plus verb and three helping verb is are. Is with singular, are with any plural word, am with I, plus verb ing because the verb is in continuous motion, is going on. Subject plus was plus verb ing plus object. You may also make your own notes on the basis of this. In the future it will be subject plus shall or will be plus verb ing plus object. I hope the rules are clear. Now taking the same example, she is writing a letter in the present. She was writing a letter. She will be writing a letter in the future. People who are attending the live, drop in the rules, whichever helping verb you know, you may write it down in the chat box. Subject plus has and have is the helping verb we use for simple perfect tense. Sorry, the present perfect tense plus verb's third form, that is the ed form, because the work has been complete. So in perfect tense, every verb that we will be using will be a participle form of the verb, that is completed action, third form. Subject plus had. So just as you use has and have in present perfect tense, in past perfect tense we will write had plus verb third form plus object. Subject plus shall and will have, will have plus verb's third form. Look at this, even in the future I am writing down the third form. Don't get confused with this one. In the perfect continuous tense it will be subject plus, can anyone help me with this one? Yes, has and have. What shall I write in this one? So for this one it will be has been and have been plus verb ing plus object. In this one it will be subject plus, again I'll simply say add been with the had form, and again verbs ing form plus object. For the future perfect continuous tense it will be subject plus shall, will, have, been plus verb ing plus object. I hope this much is clear to everyone, all the rules. Had been. Very good, Ryu. Wonderful. So you may take a screenshot of this one and then we will move on to our active passive voices. Sorry, the direct indirect speech. Active passive I will be covering up it covering it up in the next live, probably day after tomorrow around 5 or 6. Let us see, the timing is not yet decided. Okay, moving on with the skills that are required for this area. One is a good understanding of the parts of speech. So there are 8 parts of speech. Anything that I utter from my mouth is speech, right? And I will be using those words in the proper order so that it makes some sense. Each and every word has a role to play. Those roles are known as parts of speech. The noun, pronoun, adjectives, adverbs, verbs, preposition, conjunction and interjection. Right? As easy as that. Now, ability to understand the syntax of the sentence and the sentence structure. So, syntax is which word can fit in a place according to the context. Sentence structure, I've already told you the basic units are subject of the sentence, the verb it is performing, the action it is performing will be mentioned in the verb, and the object that will bear the effects of that verb, that action. Right? Apart from this, in the subject and in the object part, it can be a noun, it can be a pronoun or a noun phrase. Adjectives don't come in the subject and the object place, right? Adjectives and adverbs are such parts of speech which are also known as modifier. Their whole purpose in a sentence is to modify something else. They will either modify noun, pronoun or the other adverbs or some verbs, right? And regular practice is the only thing that will help you to get through this particular portion. Moving on to the rules. So we may report the words of a speaker in 2 ways. Look at this now. Direct speech, we may quote the actual words of the speaker. Quote the actual word. This method is called the direct speech. You're directly telling everything that was told to you as it is. In direct speech, we may report what he said without quoting his exact word. This method is known as indirect or reported speech. Example is, in the direct speech, Clinton said, inverted commas, I am very busy now. So I am telling someone that Clinton told me this, that I am very busy now. Or I can, in a very indirect way, I can say that Clinton said that he was very busy then. So here I am not using now, I am using then. So we change it in the indirect speech. When we have to say yesterday, so we'll say the day before. If I have to say tomorrow, the day after, and like that. So we will see rules for this. Okay, how to change direct into indirect? It will be noticed that in indirect speech, we use inverted commas to mark off the exact word of the speaker. In indirect speech, we do not use the inverted comma. So this is one hint. In the exam, if you get indirect sentence and they ask you to use to change the sentence into the direct form, you can see if there is inverted comma or not. So it will be easy. So it will be further noticed that in changing the above direct speech into indirect speech, certain changes have been made. For example, instead of now, we used then. Let's see what all changes were there. Let me write it down for you. I am very busy. So before this, there was a comma. I removed the comma first thing, and I is changed into he. Am is changed into was. So did we not see the rules for all the tenses? Am is used in the present continuous tense. Was is used in past continuous tense. So we changed the present into the past continuous. Very busy, instead of now, I wrote then. So these were the changes that I introduced. One more. Instead of saying said, I've added that also. So said that. So some changes are made. Thus, we have used the conjunction that before the indirect statement. The pronoun I is changed into he. The verb am is changed into was. The adverb now is changed into then. So these were the changes. Now, rules for changing direct into indirect speech. There are just 9 to 10 rules that you need to remember and you need to know about to do these questions. And then they will be very easy for you. So let's get into the video and see those rules now. Okay, rule number 1. When the reporting or the principal verb is in the past tense, all the present tenses in the direct speech are changed into the past tense. So yes, Riyu, you are absolutely right. All the tenses or all the sentences of the present tense, they will be changed into the past tense. A simple present tense becomes a simple past tense is our first rule. Write it down, everyone. Example, in the direct speech, I said, he said, I am unwell. So in the indirect, I will say, he said that he was unwell. Am is changed into was, I is changed into he, and I added this that. Right? I hope the first rule is clear to everyone. Rule number 2, a present continuous tense will become a past continuous tense. You've recently written down all the rules, right? You simply have to put an arrow there. Simple present tense into past, simple past tense. Present continuous tense into past continuous tense. Why am I changing it? This changing means that the helping verb that we will use will not be of simple present, but it will be of simple past tense. The helping verb was and were. So a present continuous tense becomes a past continuous tense. Example, in direct speech, he said, okay. So he said, my mother is writing a letter. He said that his mother, my is changed into his, that his mother was writing a letter. So did we not use was in place of is? So I changed is into was. A present perfect becomes a past perfect. Example, in the direct speech, he said, I have. So look at this now, how rules help you. I have means have is used in present perfect tense. So this is a present perfect, you have to change it into past perfect. He said, I have passed the examination. He said that he had passed the examination. I is changed into he, have is changed into had. As rule number 4, as a rule, the simple past tense in the direct speech becomes the past perfect tense in the indirect speech. So what did we do in this one? We changed the present perfect tense into the past perfect. So we are changing all the presents into the past. But what if we get a sentence in the direct speech which is that of the simple past tense? Simple past will change into, look at this, simple past tense will change into past perfect tense, which means we will be using the helping verb had instead of the second form of the verb. So he said his horse died. So this is a verb second form because it is simple past tense. His horse died in the night. There is no helping verb here, but we will change it into past perfect tense. Indirect speech, he said that his horse had died. Look at this. Now they have added a helping verb here, in the night. Note this one. The shall of the future is changed into should. The will of the future is changed into would. The can and may of the future are changed into could and might respectively. I hope this much is clear. So when the direct speech sentence is in the future tense, so you will be changing shall into should, will into would, can and may into could and might. Rule number 5. The tenses will not change if the statement is still relevant or if it is a universal truth. So universal truths will always be there. You cannot make them past, right? So they will be same. The tenses will be same for these universal truths. Example is, I know her address, said John. So John said that he knows. This is still a simple present tense. I told you in the simple present tense rule that we can add s or es with the verb if the pronoun is he, she or it. So this is he. I made it knows or knew her address. Both are relevant. So it's not that you know the address and you'll forget it. You know the address means you know it. In this indirect speech, both the past tense and the present tense makes complete sense. So both are correct. Rule number 6. Okay, we'll come to this one later on. Let us see one more example. The teacher said the earth goes round the sun. In the indirect speech, it will be the teacher said that the earth again goes. I did not convert it into past because the earth will always go around the sun. It always goes around the sun basically. So the teacher said that the earth goes or went around the sun. Rule number 6. The past tense is often used when it is uncertain if the statement is true or when we are reporting objectively. So when we do not know about the truth of the statement, in those cases we will use the past tense. Rule number 7. If the reporting verb is in the present tense, the tenses of the direct speech do not change. For example, we may rewrite the above example putting the reporting verb in the present tense. He says, I am unwell. He says that he is unwell because that thing is still relevant. He is still unwell basically. So in this case, you will keep the tense same. Moving on to rule number 8. The pronouns of the direct speech are changed where necessary so that their relation with the reporter and his hearer rather than with the original speaker are indicated. So now we are not talking about the original speaker. In the indirect speech, we have to change the verbs and helping verb according to our need because now we are reporting it. Example, he said to me, I do not believe you. So the third person said to me that he doesn't believe me. And now I have to tell this thing to someone else. How will I say it? He said that he did not believe me. Now instead of you, you will write me because you know that it was said to you. So you will be using me for yourself, right? It's all mind game. You simply have to understand the sentence first of all. It's a practical thing. Imagine yourself standing there and literally telling this to someone else. You'll get to know which all pronouns you should use, which all helping verbs you should use. Rule number 9. Words expressing nearness in time or places are generally changed into words expressing distance. Now will become then. This is one example that we came across. So all the words that show some nearness, you will use words that show some farness instead, right? Example, he said, I am glad to be here this evening. Now here is a near word. Indirect speech, he said that he was. First of all, I changed am into was. Glad to be there instead of here that evening. So this was the next rule. All the words that show nearness, you instead have to use a word that shows that it's distant in time. Rule number 10. So how the questions used in the direct speech are changed into indirect speech. In reporting questions, now we are here talking about the interrogative sentences. How to change the interrogative sentences into indirect speech? Let us see. So in the reporting question, the indirect speech is introduced by such verbs as asked or inquired because these words tell us that it is an interrogative sentence. Example, he said to me, what are you doing? In the indirect speech, I will say, he asked me. So, simply writing this word. So here I am not saying he said that. We've been doing all the sentences in which I was using said that in the indirect speech. Here I'll simply write he asked. So he asked me what I was doing. So I instead of you. Instead of you, I have written I. Instead of are, I have written was. And asked. And I will remove the question mark. Because once you have said asked, adding question mark will be redundancy. So you don't have to use two similar things if you've already written asked. Direct speech. A stranger asked me, where do you live? So it will be a stranger inquired where I lived. So lived changes into lived. Present, simple present tense into simple past tense. So today we are simply covering up all the rules, right? All the things that I feel are very necessary and on the basis of which you can get questions in the CUET. After this, we may take up some questions in the next class. And you'll definitely have to practice some of the questions. Rule number 11, while changing into indirect speech, the personal pronouns of the reported speech are changed as per the following. The personal pronoun. Now you must be thinking, what is personal pronoun? Let me quickly write down all the personal pronouns for you and then we will come back to this particular slide. Personal pronouns. So there are 6 types of pronouns. I am simply going to discuss personal pronouns with you. So we know that personal pronouns are the pronouns that are used in place of a person's name. So all these I, me, they, we, you, there, all these words are personal pronoun. Pronouns are the word that replaces noun. Now, noun can be anything. It can be a thing, it can be a living being, it can be a name of some place. But here in the personal pronoun, we will only consider the pronoun that can be used in a place of a person. So there are only 3 types of person. If I am talking, I am the first person. I am talking to, let's say, Ryu. Ryu is the second person here. And we are talking about some third person who is not a part of the conversation. That will be the third person. So 3 persons. First person, second person, third person. What are the pronouns that we use for the first person singular? So if I am talking, I am the first person, I am singular, I'll say I. So basically there are 3 cases for this. The subjective case, possessive case, objective case. Subjective case, this whole column will show you which all pronoun can be used in place of the subject of the sentence. Subject of the sentence, I told you, is the one who performs the action, right? So in the place of the subject, in the first person singular, I will use I. To show the possession, this is possessive case, I will say my or mine. So this is to show the possession that this thing belongs to me. I, my, and when the same I is used in the place of the object, we don't say I, then we say me. I, my, me. First person plural will be we, our, or ours, and us. In the second person, you, your or yours, and you. In the third person singular and male, it will be he, his, and him. Third person singular female will be she, her house. And again her, so her remains same in the possessive and the objective case. Third person plural, a group of people. So we will use the word they, their or theirs, and them. Third person singular and neuter gender. What if it's not even male or female? If it's a non-living thing, what will you say then? Then you will say it, its, and it. So these you need to remember. To give you an example, I can say I helped him. In this sentence, help is the verb. Who is doing this verb? I is doing it. And who are we doing this help for? We are doing for him, right? So he bears the effect of the verb. So in this case, did you see that I used in the subjective place? I used this I. In the objective place, I used him. Did I say he? No, I did not, right? And if I reverse it and I say he helped me. Look at this now. The I has changed into me and him has changed into he. So this is how it works. If you remember this table, it is going to help you with the voices as well as the narration. moving back to our slide. So the last rule was for the personal pronouns, and now you know what personal pronoun is. Okay. So while changing into indirect speech, the personal pronoun of the reported speech are changed as per the following. First person pronoun according to the subject of the reporting verb, it will be changed. So first person will depend upon the subject. Second person pronoun will be changed according to the object. Third person pronoun will never change, it will remain same. First person will change according to the subject. Second person, that is you, will change according to the object. Third person remains same. Note this one, the number and the case of the person do not change. So these were the rules for the direct indirect speech. Now I believe you've got some idea about it. In the next class, we will take up some examples also, because I know it gets a little monotonous when you're simply doing rules. So in the next class, when we will do some question, interrogative sentences also, sentences of different tenses also, then we will again revise all the concepts. I hope this video proves to be useful to you, and trust me, this is something which I also have learned over the time in my school days when I used to do. I also used to draw this table of the tenses and then put an arrow ki which particular rule is changed into which rule. It helps you greatly. So if you like the video, do not forget to like, share and subscribe it, and stay tuned for the next live also. It will be on the voices. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful time and keep smiling.